Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me as we look back over the Scottish Premiership matches over the weekend and, of course, discuss the lower leagues in Scotland as well as the English Premier League 2. There's lots to discuss with the guys here today, and you can engage with us and you can get involved in our new competition, and I have to tell you it's an absolute belter. Coming up after, of course, our main quiz question, which relates to a weekend of sackings in the English Premier League. So here's the quiz question: how many teams still have the same manager they started the season with in the English Premier League?
Oh, I thought it was the Scottish Premiership. I was just doing my maths there.
Yeah, so you want to have a go?
7.
Ruffy?
10.
12.
12, okay. Give us your thoughts on it. Give us your educated guess on this. Don't bother Googling it. It is an absolute belter of a question. We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. What about the competition? We usually have one of our younger journalists who work for PLZ actually put the competition together, but in the end there was nobody left in the studio apart from me. It's another magnificent competition courtesy of PLZ Soccer. This is your chance to win this fantastic framed and signed print of Brian Laudrup scoring for Rangers in that unforgettable game up at Tannadice. That goal secured Rangers 9 in a row, and for your chance to win, all you have to do is make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question: from which club did Rangers sign Brian Laudrup? If you know the answer, pop it in the comment section below and make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck. I have to say, it's an absolute belter of a competition, Ruffy, and it's signed print and the frame's going as well.
Peter, he took the criticism on board.
There's a finger in it. What's it called? The thing you get?
Border.
A border.
Yeah.
Border as well. They're quite expensive.
Yes. So there you are. That's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, we are doing really well with the competition, to be honest with you. There's lots of great prizes all the way through to the summer. And, Ruffy, the wheels are in motion. We mentioned it on Saturday, didn't we? There's somebody actually sent us a message and said, wouldn't it be great if we could get a competition where a competition winner has the chance to play golf with yourself, and obviously you and Tam against Macca and a competition winner.
That'd be brilliant.
Can we organise that?
No, there's no problem at all. Just picking the venue.
There you are.
Yep.
You can get it for us?
Oh, I'm sure we could get a venue, yeah.
Yeah, magic. Okay, there you are. That is going to be...
He has a good course.
I think that's next week's competition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be free, but the boy might have to pay you.
So it's McAvenny and the winner versus me and Ruffy.
McAvenny and the winner will play, and he or she will come along. You'll take them for lunch.
Yeah.
Play the golf. Get the photograph taken. We'll get the photograph framed. Send it to the competition winner. So they'll have a great day of golf. Wee bit of lunch, good chat, and then the photograph just to remember the day.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Aye, calm your jets, Ali.
Can they state their handicap as well before the one in the bandit turning up?
Absolutely battering you. Anyway, good competition. Thanks to so many of you who have joined us to talk about football today. We always value your commitment as well. Thanks to Tommy, who joins us from Thailand regularly. I have to say, he never misses a trick with us. So thanks, Tommy, and so many people from afar. The figures we've got for the year that have just come out have been absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for your support right across all our social media. It has been absolutely superb. So we've done the competition, we've got the quiz question out there, and we've got lots to talk about as far as the results as well. Incidentally, last week's winner of the Hibs prize was George McLean. Also the winner of the Kieran Tierney print was Norrie Gray from Barrhead. So we've gone from one end of the country in Edinburgh for the Hibs print, and then Barrhead right over to the west for Norrie Gray. Well done to you, Norrie. That Kieran Tierney signed print from Gio Thompson, the artist, is going to be on its way to you once we confirm all the details with you. So congratulations. Here's the Premiership scores from the weekend. It was Saturday and Sunday. Hibs won, Motherwell 3. Did we see that coming? Kilmarnock defeated Hearts by 2-1. Rangers 2-0 over Dundee United. St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 1, St Mirren 3, Livingston 0, and Ross County 0, Celtic 2 from yesterday's game there up at Dingwall. So, there's how the table looks, and is your favourite team in a good position? At the bottom end, Dundee United now 2 point gap between them and Ross County, then up to Kilmarnock with that good result against Hearts, and it's still 9 points at the top. But the battle in the middle, Ruffy, it's really hotting up, isn't it? At both ends of the table and in the middle section.
Yeah, I think the boys are in the middle. They're determined to get into that top 6 because they know much money's involved. If they get in there, you can see the disappointment with the Livingston people, because they thought they were a stick on for that 6th place, but it's going to be really, really tight.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, as far as the games are concerned, well, Rangers got a 2-0 win over Dundee United, and Tillman scored both goals in that one. The first one really well orchestrated, second one a little bit fortuitous, but he'll not be caring. He got the 2 goals, he was a star man. I think a lot of Rangers fans leaving Ibrox hoping that Malik Tillman will be a Rangers player next season, and Michael Beale's certainly positive about that prospect.
Yeah, there's an option there that we can take, but like all things, the player has a say in it as well, and so does the club that he's at, and a lot of things are agreed. But it's obviously there's been a change of manager there as well. That's not a part of the negotiations that I'm involved in, but I'm fully up to speed on that. There was more talks on that over the international break as well. So and everything at the moment is positive. Obviously, me and Malik have a fantastic relationship, and I think he really enjoys playing here. I think you only have to see in the way that he's grown in the time he's been here that he's really enjoying his football.
If they could pull that deal off, Ali, that would be a real positive message.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it helps when you've had someone who's had a successful loan spell. You know what they're coming at, they know what they're walking into, they know the system they're playing, they've already bedded into the team and bedded into the club. I think it eliminates a significant portion of the risk that there can be when you sign a player. I think if someone's had a successful spell on loan, then if there are funds available to make it permanent and a willingness on both parties, I think sometimes it's a very sensible way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been good. When he's on form, he's good. I think Gallant's just said there, hopefully he can turn up in the game on Saturday, but he's yet to do it against Celtic, and I think that's where the long-term judgment always comes. If you think you're a big game player, you have to do it in the big games.
Yep, and that's what you're going to be paying £5 million for. You're not paying that to score goals. No disrespect, Dundee United, St Mirren, teams like that, Motherwell. You're doing it to do it in the big games against Celtic, and no greater time to do it at the weekend. Rangers have to go to Parkhead and win the game. To try and keep the title, alive. Anything other than 3 points, then it's all over. So they'll be looking for him and their big players to turn up at the weekend and beat Celtic. But
do you like him?
I think he's very good. I think he's very talented, and he's only 20. He's got a lot of potential, and that's what you're signing at 20 years old. You're looking to try and get maybe a season or two out of him. And you can get maybe 10, 15 goals, same assists, and then you sell him on. So Rangers won't be signing him to stay there for the rest of his career. Rangers will be signing him to try and make a big profit on him. Yeah,
and make him a better player than he is at the moment, and he's a good player. Got lots of potential in there. Although, as Tam mentioned there, Ruffy, they come up against Dundee United, and I have to say, I'm looking at them and I'm wondering where the points are coming from. They're just woeful at the bottom now, and it's going to be a difficult period coming up for them.
Yeah, as I think the manager knows there'll be games coming up that it's must-wins all the time now against these teams, and that could get them out of the trouble, but there was no evidence at the weekend. I think the important thing was not to go away for Ibrox getting beat 4 or 5-0, for some kind of morale boosting result, to take on to the next game. So no, I think he'll be relatively happy, but I mean, the statement they always come out with is like, we're not judged on playing Rangers and Celtic, it's the other games.
Well, as far as the other games are concerned, it's Hibs, Motherwell and Livingston on the horizon. Despite the fact they're at the bottom, Jim Goodwin has to try and continually be positive with a rallying call for the players.
The day before a ball was kicked, I don't think any of you guys or any of the neutrals outside would have given us much of a chance. Rangers are very good here at Ibrox. They're on a good run of form, and we knew how difficult the task was going to be. So, we would have loved to have taken something from it. I didn't see a lack of effort or commitment from the players, which is obviously always a positive. But people would expect that as a minimum requirement. I didn't see a team when it went to 2-0 that threw the towel in. They very much kept going and stuck to the task.
Well, if you're a Dundee United fan, can they survive? Can Jim Goodwin somehow just galvanise them and get a spark out of them to get away from the bottom of the table, even into a playoff position? Or are they your favourites to go down? Give us your thoughts on that. Thanks very much for all the messages that have come in. Paul Brady says, I hope Alison is not as loud as she was on Saturday. My ears are still ringing. Have I made that up, Tam? I have not made it up. There it is there. By the way, it was absolutely fantastic.
Can I just qualify by the fact that I was sitting under the tannoy? I was sitting directly underneath.
Absolutely. But it was super. By the way, it was super exciting, Ruffy, because we thought this is a Champions League final she's at. We've sent her to the wrong game. It was Killy against Hearts, and it was absolutely magnificent. Thoroughly enjoyed it on Saturday, getting your report, and not the one where obviously the camera's down here, because that equally caught us on the hog cam.
It was from different angles, some interesting angles for Ali and Sam.
Absolutely. But you got the excitement of the game, so full marks to you. Thanks for Paul, who obviously mentioned that. We noticed it ourselves. Yesterday, Dingwall wasn't a great game, Ruffy.
No, it wasn't. There was nowhere near the standard that we've expected of Celtic all year.
Do you know why I started with you? See if you can guess why I started with you about Ross County against Celtic. I'm going to get it in the neck here. Usually when I open my gob with these things, there's somebody who's going to absolutely batter me. If we're given penalties for that, I mean, honestly, Jakoviti must have been looking and thinking, really?
Yeah, I know. I mean, we keep talking about, I think we did talk about it on Friday about ex-footballers, looking at the video camera and maybe helping out. Because if you're going to header a ball, your hand is not going to be at your side. You know what I mean? If you're not going to go and header it like that, your hand's going to be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just cheap penalty. It's just so, and it's getting annoying now. And we'll move on to the St Mirren one. I thought that was as bad. But I think now the referees, everybody's saying there's no consistency. What they're doing is they're just looking at the VAR and going, it hit his hand, penalty.
Yeah,
just going, did it hit his hand?
It's the rule, Peter.
I get that. But can I ask you this? Okay, there were a lot of people saying, get stuffed, it's a penalty, it's the rule. Fine, we absolutely get that. I have to say though, the point here is one, consistency in the decision, but two, how do you actually in a way reconstruct, redefine, change that rule to try and make it a point where it's a deliberate handball without that major interpretation which is causing us all grief. I mean, honestly, in the old days, Tam, would that have been a penalty?
No, it's unnatural position, and as Ruffy says, when you're jumping for a header, your arms are up to give you leverage to get a leap. And it's just misjudged the ball. He doesn't even know the ball is, and it hits his arm. As soon as you see it, he's going to give a penalty kick. The referee has to give a penalty kick because it's in the rule book, but it's really, really harsh on Ross County, and the rule's got to be changed, and I don't know how they're going to change it.
So for everybody, the clubs are all moaning about it. It's the clubs that need to do something about it.
How would you change it, Ruffy? What's your change on it?
Deliberate handball. Just deliberate handball.
Can I ask you this? I understand that part of it. How do you change the rule and then say deliberate handball? What happens if somebody, they belted the ball off him in such a way that his hands are out and it stops it maybe going towards goal and it's not deliberate? But that's another variation of it.
No, if there's a shot and it's gone towards the goal, how many have we saw that the ball's been getting near the goal? They're either out wide at the edge of the 18-yard box or they're in the middle. They're not. I haven't seen any that's been the guy's hand stopped it going into the goal.
No, but it will happen, Ruffy. That's what I'm saying to you. So Ian's just said here we need to go back to hand to ball or ball to hand.
So I was actually just about to use that very expression. I think that was always a barometer previously, and even then you might have had some grey areas and a bit of ambiguity at certain calls, but I think at least it's a bit more of a sensible approach. I didn't think it was I know what you're saying. If you apply the letter of the law,
he's got to give it.
If you apply the letter of the law, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
it's a classic one where if it's given against you, you're going to be aggrieved about it. If you get it, you take it and accept it. But
yeah, Thomas has said here, Peter, no controversy for the penalty, or are you just unhappy that Celtic got the decision? No, I mean, Thomas, we value you coming on and giving. If you think it's a penalty, that's fine. We just call it as we see it. I was absolutely gobsmacked when he gave the penalty. I'm thinking, come on.
I think by the letter of the law, I think the minute you know it's going to VAR, you know it's he's going to give it. He's going to give it. But if you're Malky Mackay, I have every sympathy for why he was.
But Malky would have been shouting for it at the other end.
But Malky made a
would have
good
been screaming
point.
for that at the other end.
Malky said
He would have.
He did. Well, he was screaming at a handball in the middle of the park. But to be fair to Malky, he's now looking at, like many managers, and saying, well, some of these decisions are going to get a manager the sack, a club relegated.
Yep,
You know?
yep. It's a big decision.
It's now getting to the critical time, isn't it?
Peter, the only people that can change it are the clubs themselves. They know halfway through the season or at the end of the season, the beginning of the season, they call some kind of agenda with the referees or whoever you need to get, and they all get together and they tell them what we're talking about and what everybody else is talking about, and then something will get done.
By the way, did you see? I don't know if you've seen the West Ham game yet. Was it yesterday? They took 4 minutes to get the offside down the road. It was an offside come in, and VAR took just about 4 minutes. Now, I think you said something there. It's now getting to a stage of the season where they're desperate to be right, don't want to get wrong. And you've seen that with West Ham, Southampton yesterday. They took 4 minutes.
You don't even have to think
get the
about
offside.
West Ham. John Beaton took an absolute eternity to award St Mirren a penalty. I mean, it took such a long time. People are saying,
They're
how
taking the
long
time
does
to
it
make
take?
sure they get it right now at both ends of the border.
The game is too long, Ruffy, with this. The game is, you're getting to a situation where people are just claiming for things all the time.
Yeah.
You can't get to decisions. Sometimes now we're in that zone where we don't even know if anybody's celebrating a goal properly. You're actually, players now, when players used to score a goal, the only one thing they ever did when they scored the goal is they would run away and have a glance to see if he was offside. Now you're going away thinking, well, in that phase there, was there a handball? Was there a flick of a foot? Was there, you never know exactly where it's going with it. It's so difficult. Anyway, apart from that, if that was the downside to it, the upside was the boy Bernabei who come on. I mean, he hits an absolute screamer, Ruff. It was the only highlight of that game.
Yeah, and he's not getting much game time at all, so anytime he does get game time, he's got to do something, and it was a good strike. I thought the game was phasing out by then, but you can't take it away from him. It was a good strike, but I think Greg Taylor will be in at the weekend. But it's good to have somebody like that on the bench.
Yeah, you need people to push. As far as having no Rio Hatate there, I think Ange Postecoglou said something. He was full of praise for Tomoki Iwata. He praised him for his contribution. I didn't think he was as good as the manager thought he was.
well, you and I have been in this game quite a while, so we kind of know how that works sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think Celtic really miss Hatate and Moy. I think two of them have been pivotal to the way that Celtic have played this season. I think they've been notable by their absence when they've dipped out of the team. I think Celtic are more fluent from middle to front when they're there. I think they give them a certain kind of energy, and I'm sure that they'll be doing everything they can to get both of them fit for the weekend.
Yeah.
O'Reilly's went off the boil, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I thought he was really poor yesterday, and I've seen him against Hibs, and I thought he was poor. I don't know. At the start of the season, he looked as if we're talking about Man United and teams like that, but I'm struggling to see how he's in the team at the minute, and David Turnbull must be knocking on the door to get in.
Yeah.
Instead of him.
I'll tell you, the two of them won their game, so it's still that 9-point gap. So I think everybody's now looking and saying, okay, all roads lead to Celtic Park next week. Is this as even a game going into it as possible? Because they've consistently won the games up until, of course, League Cup final and the draw. As far as Rangers are concerned, Celtic have been relentless in their march with wins.
Yeah, and listen, this is a big one. I think that Rangers, when Michael Beale came in, he'd have been looking to win every game, and kind of get the old firm games. If drew the first one, the first league game at Ibrox, they've got to go to Celtic Park and win, and they've got a poor record at Celtic Park in recent times. They've got to go there and win. They've got to open up and try and win the game, which suits Celtic. So, listen, I think if Rangers can go to Parkhead and win the game, then I think the title race is back on. I think it's back on, and it would give them a massive boost for the semi-final coming up as well. But these are the games as a Celtic manager, a Rangers manager, that you're judged on, and Michael Beale ultimately is going to be judged on trophies. And if you're going to win anything in Scotland, you're going to have to beat Celtic.
Title race back on. If they win, I can see where Tam's coming from, because there will still be another game at Ibrox.
Yeah, of course you will. I mean, you always believe as a supporter, but the Rangers supporters will be sitting, and as Alison just said there, Hatate and Moya, if they're no in and Celtic turn in a performance like they did yesterday, Rangers will think they've got a chance. And that's the way it goes. That's the way people believe it. They might be looking at the Celtic team. Okay, it was only yesterday, but it wasn't a really good performance. So if they put in that kind of performance and Rangers up their game, it's going to be game on. But I agree, if it goes to 6 points, the whole of Rangers will think that they're going to turn it around soon, and that's what you do.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, Ali, because it's got that feeling, that sense of, Rangers winning, consistently, Celtic relentless in their pursuit. They've got that 9-point advantage. If anything, I think, as Tam says, that's fine saying if Rangers win it, but it's Celtic in their own backyard with no Rangers fans there. I mean, if ever you needed 7,000 Rangers fans in that ground, it was for that game. And a lot of people might look and say, well, okay, they're not in it, nothing you can do about it. But it's one of those situations where they've both shot each other in the foot with this whole situation.
I think it's preposterous, and I know we've spoken at length about it, but I think it dilutes the occasion tremendously. I think it's what makes, there are unsavoury elements when you have 7,000 in from each side. I don't think there's any question about that. But the element of theatre that it produces is why it's such a global attraction. And I think when you take that away, you reduce something from the fixture. And you would like to think that there might be some kind of common sense approach in future, but I'm not sure. I think we've maybe seen the last of that, and the decision to go the way that they've gone now. I think the boat's gone. I think
it'll change when both boards change. I think there are certain individuals in each board that pander to a small minority, and I think it will change. This tit for tat attitude will change, when you get a fresh approach to it.
If we had any idea of what the fans want. We know what the clubs want, but what do the fans want? Do the fans want 7,000 in?
Of course they do.
Well, you have to be.
I don't think the home fans.
I think there's a very parochial element among both sets of fans where they're quite happy to say, fine, we suck it up when it's their turn, we suck it up. And it wouldn't be for me. I think it definitely reduces the occasion. And I'll reference again, and I remember once interviewing Henrik Larsson about on a special derby feature, because he's played obviously in so many big derbies in Holland and in Scotland and Spain and down south, and he was saying the reason why the Glasgow derby is so incomparable is because of the sense of tension between both sets of fans. And he spoke about how in Spain fans don't travel. He was like the big Catalan derby, between Barcelona and Real Madrid. It doesn't.
Well, see, the last time we spoke about it,
doesn't feel like a derby because
it's not really a derby, but it's a derby between two big teams.
It's a rivalry.
The last time we spoke about it, I got a lot of criticism on our feed for suggesting, it's no longer the derby it was, and then people are going, oh, wait a minute, there's only somebody come on and said, oh, there's only a few hundred Real Madrid fans here. Does that lessen the derby? Well, it's a 3-hour train journey. It's 6.5 hours by car to get from one end of the country to the other for Barcelona against Real Madrid.
If you speak to any players and you ask them what their preference would be, Tam would probably tell it, Tam and Ruffy will tell you more. I think they would all say they would far better a split of fans. And I think you see it more when it's at Hampden, when obviously things are 50-50. I think it's a different occasion entirely.
Absolutely, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But listen, I might be wrong on the some fans just might not want it. I mean, I know there's a suggestion as well, if you've got a successful team and you keep going to one ground or the other battering your opposition, suddenly there might be this situation where you don't want that to happen. But I've witnessed 3-9 in a row, Ruffy, from these two sides. And when you get consistently, one team winning, it's hard, but that's the joy of it. If you're at your opponent's ground and you're in the middle of a 9 in a row where Mark Hateley and Ali McCoist are scoring goals for fun, or in the middle of a 9 in a row when suddenly Scott Brown's loading it up, it's hard to take.
It is, and I think there was an element of that with Rangers. I think there was an element Celtic kept going to Ibrox and winning. I mean, under Brendan Rodgers, you know, Rangers had a succession of managers who couldn't beat them at Ibrox, and I think Rangers have thought, listen, I think they're getting a massive boost for that away support, and I think that was a big part of it in stopping away supporters. But as Ruff will tell you, there's nothing better than a derby game, you know, celebrating in front of Edinburgh derbies, maybe 3,000-4,000 there. Obviously a lot more than the Old Firm derby, but there's nothing better than running away to your own fans when you score a goal in a derby game, and unfortunately that's not going to happen this weekend.
Or running away to the opposition fans as well. Just a thought. Anyway, William Smith has a good question, Ruffy, which I think I've got an answer in some respects. I don't think I've got it in a league sense. William says, hi Peter, a wee question for you and the PLZ team and for the people who are watching and listening. I was wondering, when was the last time Celtic and Rangers played at home at the same time in a competitive game? Well, I think on the same night in 1972, I think Celtic played Inter Milan in a semi-final of the European Cup, and Rangers played Bayern Munich. I think it was Bayern Munich, and both of them were at home in the same night.
I can't ever remember it in my lifetime.
No?
I can't ever
I think
remember.
I'm right, and it was definitely...
in your lifetime?
No, it's not.
72, when were you born? Yeah.
82.
Yeah, I was going to... sorry. Anyway, apart from anything else, Ruffy, I think it was 1972 in a European sense, but I can't think of a league. I can't think of a league encounter when both of them were at home. Somebody would have to come up with answers. A great question from William, but I'm almost certain I've nailed it in a European sense.
No, I can't think of a... and is it a safety thing? You know, I just
it's a train thing. It's a car thing. It's buses driving past each other.
You have to police it. You have to police
yeah, but I've said that thing. How do they police the Irish coming over for the games? How do they police the Rangers and the Celtic supporters coming from Ireland for the game?
But they're not in the same numbers. It's not significant. Like,
Still on the same boat.
But if you had 50,000 at Ibrox and 60,000 at Celtic Park, that's
really
over
tough.
100,000 people in one
Yeah,
city.
exactly. And by the way, a lot of cost involved because it would be a Category 1 match.
She told me.
But so don't even start, Ruffy. Don't start with a noise up here. Anyway, William, it's a great question. Maybe somewhere along the line, someone might actually come up with an answer. I think I'm right on that situation. 97. Bob White certainly thinks it was 1972 as well. Okay, Jimmy says, Peter, hurry up and talk about the Hibs game. I want to see McManus's face and hear his excuses. Jimmy, calm down. We're going to get there. It's going to be fantastic. It's coming up shortly. Anyway, Ali, we won't see you. Obviously, so you might as well call it now. Celtic Rangers, Celtic Park, Saturday. Who wins?
I think Celtic will win comfortably. I think there is quite a distance between the teams, and I think the very fact that you play in front of your own support, I don't think there's any pressure on Celtic. They know even a point would be sufficient. I think it's a game Rangers have to win. I think that might encourage a fairly open encounter, but I think Celtic will win. I'll say 2-0.
2-0, okay. Are you guys going to wait until you see the teams in your usual
Yeah,
You're going to hang on?
Sensible thing to do.
I'll tell you on Friday, because there's a few doubts on both sides. So.
Okay, that's a good one. Also, I like this one. Sometimes we just, I won't swear, right? But I'll use the abbreviations. And Ali Mullen has just gone, WTF is Ruffy talking about. Ali, we don't know, so how the hell, I mean, if you want us to
Ruffy
try
doesn't know what that means by
you just find WTF.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ali, we've got no chance to tell you. We're here every week. We're here every day wondering what he's saying. So anyway, we get no clue.
What was his point anyway?
There was something about what you were waffling on about the fans and the boats and everything. So
it's a relevant point.
Anyway, Ali, thanks for mentioning it. Right, so we've got Celtic and Rangers. By the way, it's such a huge month for both of them because obviously Celtic have got Rangers and they've got them in the Cup, and it's Kilmarnock and Motherwell on the way as well. It's a big month for both clubs, and it's a defining one for Rangers.
Yeah, I mean this is Rangers' season really. The next 4 games. You know, if they beat Celtic, they keep that alive. They keep the league alive. The semi-final. You know, if Celtic win both games, that's the season over for Rangers, and Celtic will be massive odds on to win the treble. So, Yeah, some massive games coming up, but this one on Saturday's huge, particularly for Rangers. I think for Celtic, even if Celtic lost the game, they'd still be massive favourites to win it. But I think the boost that Rangers would get, not only from beating Celtic at Parkhead and knowing that they can do it, to go into that semi-final as well to try and stop Celtic doing the treble.
But by the way, before the semi-final, they've also got to go to Pittodrie and face Aberdeen Rangers. So,
and Rangers, as we know, they always raise their game against Aberdeen at Pittodrie, and Barry Robson's got them flying, which I'm sure we'll speak about in a minute. So all of a sudden, from Rangers looking at that game 6 weeks ago and going, "Oh, that's an easy 3 points." Now you're going, Aberdeen are going well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about Aberdeen shortly, but let's talk about Hibs. Yeah, Jimmy, set your button to record to see Tam's face here. Hibernian 1, Motherwell 3. I must admit, it was one of those situations that not many people thought Motherwell were going to go there and win 3-1. Lee Johnson didn't mince his words at the end of the game.
You've got to give Motherwell, I suppose, credit for their away performance, but I really did feel that it was an opportunity there, and it's a massive opportunity missed as well, given the other results. Even though we can't expect other results to look after us, we have to look after our performance. We have to build our performance, and I suppose it's just an inept technical and tactical performance.
Ruffy, you're a goalkeeper. Marsh at fault for
Yeah, I think he would hold his hands up for that one. It was
soft penalty. I thought he had it.
I thought he half the point too. No, the same.
No,
yeah.
I thought the same.
It was one of them. Where's the goalie going? When he come running, I seen him come running out. I went,
was that the first poor decision? No, I was on about the penalty. I thought he had it.
Yeah, I think he thought he had it. He was away quite early. And it's just one of these things that just squirmed under his hand. And even the third goal, I don't think he should have saved that. It was coming round the wall. So. But you have games like that, you've just got to put your hand up. But, the Hibs were poor, and sometimes you phone somebody in the morning when you're helping for a wee help and you're cooping.
Yeah.
And some people tell you that Hibs are a stone waller, and sometimes it messes up your cooping.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking of messed up coupons, it ended up 3-1. Your coupon was a picture on Saturday. I mean, honestly, apart from the Marshall thing, do you get the feeling two things? Hibs fans not enamoured with Marshall and losing patience again with Lee Johnson?
Yeah, probably both. I think that David Marshall over the last few weeks, he's been coming under a little bit more criticism with Hibs supporters, and that's only going to intensify with the mistakes. I thought he made a poor decision to come out for the penalty, and then he should save it. There's no doubt about it. He should save the penalty and the free kick. I think he should save the free kick as well. But they're obviously big moments in the game, but you can't just blame the goalkeeper for the defeat. We watched the highlights, and I spoke to a few Hibs supporters, and not at the races. Motherwell dominated the game from start to finish. Could have been 3 or 4 up. Kevin Van Veen, excellent. Really led the line well. And Motherwell thoroughly deserved to win the game. And that's kind of out of character for Hibs, because I think over the last 4, 5, 6 games you've been starting to see a bit of an improvement with Hibs. Yeah. Whether there's a bit of complacency went into the game, thinking, it's Motherwell, we've beat them. I think they'd beat them 3 times this season. And they thought we'll just turn up and win, but we weren't at the races at all. Got back in it at 2-1, but Motherwell ran out comfortable winners. And from talking about Hibs, in a fight for third place, they're in a fight for the top 6 now, because they're only a point ahead of Livingston in 7th. So their top 6 is now guaranteed with some difficult games coming up. So, okay, talk about third place, but first and foremost, make sure you're in the top 6.
Yeah, the other thing about it is the financial implications of it all. I have to say, it's hard to believe this, but I watched Motherwell against St Johnstone at Fir Park in a midweek game, and they were ranked rotten, and then it obviously cost Stephen Hamill his job, and I just couldn't see where the quality was coming from. But fair play to Stuart Kettlewell. He somehow galvanised that side, changed the way they play.
He certainly got a tune out of them. I think at one point actually it looked as though they would really be dragged down, that there was a real danger, I think, that they were going to be sucked into the relegation fight. I think they've more than steadied it. I think he'll just be looking to consolidate between now and the end of the season, and then get ready to rebuild ahead of a fresh campaign. When he's in from the start of the season, he can maybe firmly put his own stamp on the team, bring in 1 or 2 players that that he's identified and go on from next season. But certainly you'd have to applaud the job that he's done in a very short space of time, because they looked like a team just thoroughly in freefall and bereft of any kind of confidence. I think they look like a cohesive unit again. I think there looks like a stability about them, and also just a bit of belief.
Yeah, and you've got to pay credit to Kevin Van Veen. The manager certainly did.
Why you keep him on the park is evident. That's the type of quality that he carries, and I think he's a big personality and a big character in our dressing room, and I think our players get a lift from that. And Kevin said something to me just after the game, which I find really, really interesting, that he felt that he was short of his levels, but his teammates really stepped forward, and that's what we're trying to create. If there's a unit or a group of players that aren't maybe at their best, it's making sure that you're still competitive in the game. And I thought we were good for our 3 points today.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would argue with the Motherwell manager there. And of course they've got Livingston, Dundee United and Celtic on the horizon in this month before the split. So it's been great. I think he deserves tremendous credit, doesn't he?
He does. Okay, you can say Hibs were poor, but watching the highlights, I thought Motherwell were superb. Middle of the park, great goal to open the scoring with Goss. And Kevin Van Veen, 20 goals he scored this season, 16 league goals, fantastic.
Is he in the running for a nominee?
Absolutely, and there's still 8 games left, and he was talking about maybe getting to 30. So, I mean, particularly if Motherwell are in the bottom 6, which probably looks as if they're going to be, he's got a great opportunity to bang in the goals. He's not playing against any quality teams, he's playing against the teams at the bottom, so he's got every opportunity. I don't think he'll beat Motherwell next season. I think somebody will take him. I think Van Veen, I think he'd play for Hibs. I think he'd get a game for Hibs. I'd take him at Hibs, experienced player, goal scorer, leads the line well. I think you saw.
Does he want to make that move down though to Hibs? Does he not want to stay with Motherwell?
Maybe he doesn't want to travel his money and play with a bigger club, Peter. No, that is a nibble, yes. I think they'll struggle to keep hold of him.
Yeah.
If he scores 20-25 goals for Motherwell, he'll get a move.
It's good going. I mean, if you look at the players that have scored 20 goals this season, I mean, it's Kyogo, it's Van Veen, it's Shankland. They all deserve a mention. And again, we'll get to the nominees of the Player of the Year, Ruffy, and it'll all be, sometimes it's dominated by the team that's actually dominating the league, which is Celtic. But maybe one or two of these might get a shout.
They might get a chance in the players one.
Yeah.
I think the players are more tended to vote for somebody that they played against and done particularly well. They would get that kind of vote. The sports writers one, I tend to think's different, but I don't know who that would be yet.
Yeah, okay. Let's get to Kilmarnock against Hearts. If Hibs had a tough time, you watched it. Were Kilmarnock worthy winners?
I thought they were. I thought Hearts were poor. They scored. Kilmarnock started well, and then Hearts scored, and you're thinking, will Kilmarnock collapse just given the fragility around their situation? They didn't. They kept going. I thought they were worthy winners. When they went down to 10 men, they were content to give Hearts the ball and basically just kept their shape, defended. I think I could think of one Shankland effort that took a deflection and ended up Sam Walker caught. I can't think of any other notable moment in front of goal. I don't think they really put them under pressure at all. Yeah,
well, it's a battle cry from Derek McInnes, as our reporter Kerry Pollock found out today.
After a great result at the weekend over Hearts, Kilmarnock now have another uphill battle ahead of them this weekend as they head up north to face Aberdeen. But despite being 6 points clear of Dundee United at the foot of the table, Derek McInnes believes his side still have a big challenge ahead of them.
100%, we're up for the fight. We're in a fight, and it's a fight we're determined to win. And Saturday, previous games, we can never aim that against the players. We're in a fight, we're ready for the fight, and we're determined to win it. So it's, Saturday's game, players need reward for their efforts. It's validation of their work, how they are Monday to Friday. But the outcome is a winning performance, and that's what we're looking for more between now and the end of the season.
And with just 3 games to go before the split comes around, Derek McInnes says it's hard for himself and his players not to be looking at other teams around them in the table.
No, I can't stop them looking at their phones. And listen, it's natural. You're all wanting teams running about you to lose their games. That's just the way it is, and you're constantly checking the table just to make sure it is as it was the last time, and it is. It's just the way it is. We're not going to pretend anything differently. We're in a position now where, we can look after our own future, take the responsibility for that. I'm determined to meet out my responsibility with that as we did last season, and we're going to try and do it again this season. So just concentrating ourselves, and I always find that that's the best way. Concentrate the next game, as tough as it is, it's a game that we can go and get a positive result from. So hopefully, as I say, just deal with your own stuff.
Derek McInnes goes head-to-head with his former colleague Barry Robson this weekend, but who will come out on top? Kick-off is at Pittodrie, 3 o'clock.
What a game, Pittodrie. The gods somehow always bring people together for significant games. Back to the club where he had a fair bit of success.
Yeah, I would like to think he would get a good reception from the majority of the supporters. I think when he was up there he did particularly well, but if you were asking me then, I don't think they'll win that game against Aberdeen. I wasn't at the game, Alison, but I thought they were very fortunate. The Hearts goalkeeper threw two in the back of the net. You know, and I mean, it's not the first time it's happened at rugby. But I remember Craig Gordon slipping in that. It was 2 or 3 times. No, you take everything that goes your way. Yeah. But I think he's.
Don't give Kilmarnock some credit for the win?
No. Any chance? No.
They were fortunate.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Okay.
So you thought they deserved to win?
I thought they did deserve to win.
Yeah.
2 goals.
I take your point, but I thought their overall performance was. Yeah. It was a courageous approach. They went to win it. They tried to attack. I thought.
Agree with Alison.
I agree with Alison.
Quite aggressive since you get 16 points the weekend.
Yeah. Did you get?
Yeah, 28, by the way.
Yeah. The other thing is, you're just a bitter old man. That's what you are. The other thing is, Ali, eventually one of these days you're just going to turn around and go, oh, "Shut it, Ruffy. I don't agree with you." I just get that as vibe from you. Listen. Hearts, the run they're on is poor. Robbie Neilson says the team's just got to get back to basics.
Obviously, like I can stand here and talk about it and say we'll do this and this, but at the end of the day it's a lot of nonsense. You know, it's about making sure we're ready for next week's game, and that for me comes from everyone individually looking at the game today, but looking at our training as well and saying, right, we need to go on it every day and turn up next Saturday and make sure we put a performance in, because we had a brilliant fan base here. You know, massive frustration from them at the end, which is rightly so, but throughout the rest of the game they backed us, and it'll be the same next week at Tynecastle. They back us to Hilton. It's up for us to perform and bring that energy, and everyone is to play on the front foot, pass forward, run forward, and do the basics of football well.
Well, they better get something right soon, because the table doesn't lie, Tam. Aberdeen are right on their heels.
They are, and they've hit a bad patch at the wrong time. You know, just coming up to the split, and they're giving a lot of hope to Aberdeen. You know, you wouldn't even discount St Mirren out of that as well. You know, they're still in the mix. So, listen, they're letting a lot of people back in the door. You know, 4 defeats in a row, 5 defeats in the last 6. You know, so they're in a poor run. And if you're a Hibs supporter, you're kicking yourself. You know, not winning that game at the weekend. But Aberdeen, perfect weekend for them. We're obviously going to talk about them in a minute. Hearts beat, Hibs beat. They win at St Johnstone, so they are banging it, and they've got a couple of home games coming up. So everything in the Gardens Rosy, if you're an Aberdeen fan at the minute, you're all of a sudden, from having an absolute nightmare of a season, you're looking forward to it going. By the way, we could maybe finish third this season and get the riches. You know, talking 3-4 million that Hearts got last year. They're going straight into that Conference League, and no one would have gave Aberdeen a prayer 6 weeks ago. Yeah, absolutely. It's been transformed, Ruffy, because the corner came in, it comes off Remy Matthews, it goes into the goal, but wasn't a great weekend for goalkeepers, was it, Ruffy?
No, it was a poor one. But you make your own luck, and Aberdeen got the 3 points, held on. I mean, admittedly they were playing against 10 men for a long period when Considine goes and gets himself sent off for a stupid tug. I thought it was a stupid tug because the ball wasn't anywhere. It wasn't close enough to Miofsky. You thought he was going to get it?
No, it was a poor one, you know, and you let his team down, you know, having to struggle for the rest of the game. But again, Aberdeen, like Kilmarnock, got a wee break, and they used it to their advantage, and they got 3 points out of it, and that's all they'll be looking at. They'll not be looking at the performance at the end, they'll just be looking at 3 points.
Yeah, and the goalkeeper, Roos, made a couple of good saves for the Dons.
One right at the end.
Yeah.
I think he got a touch onto the bar with that one, Yeah, he's been good for them. Since he's went in there, he's been pretty consistent in everything he's done.
Yeah, I stuck my neck out and said I think Hearts will finish third. It's getting squeaky bum time, Ali. It's quite a lot of...
if Aberdeen if they do leapfrog them this weekend, I just wonder if that might just be Hearts' collapse. After that, I think they were 7 points ahead at one point between themselves and fourth spot. I think sometimes the psychology of being in a position like that and allowing it to unravel can have quite devastating effects.
Well, there's an Edinburgh derby to come at Easter Road, and you've got Aberdeen at home to Kilmarnock and away to Ross County, and before they face Rangers, obviously, at home. Yeah,
it's intriguing. I think I thought Hearts were very, very poor on Saturday. I didn't see anything in them that would have suggested they look like the third force in Scottish football, and I think there's an argument definitely to be had about the quality out with Celtic and Rangers and everyone else, but I thought they looked poor at the weekend, and on current form I think you would maybe back Aberdeen to go.
Well,
and take
Aberdeen have won the last 4 and Hearts have lost the last 4. They're a 12-point swing from nowhere, and all of a sudden they're a point behind.
St Mirren, did we see that? A 3-0 tonking, couple of penalties in there, VAR, too long to make a decision, that's the first thing, but nevertheless, Mark O'Hara knows how to hit a penalty, hits it in the same spot.
Yep, took him well. As I said, we probably should have seen it coming, because St Mirren have been very good this season at home. You know, you've got to be a very good team to beat Celtic, and they beat them 2-0 comfortably, and they've been excellent at home. They're hard to beat and they're hard to break down. I thought it would have been a tighter game in that, to be honest. I think I took a draw in the predictor, but fair play to St Mirren. You know, they are trying to get in the top 6, and then once you're in that top 6, there's a real opportunity for third, because there's not going to be that much a gap. I think they're 4 points or 3 points behind third at the minute, so they're bang in there. And there's another guy for manager here. If St Mirren finished third, you know, is he manager of the year? You know, so there's a lot of talking points at the minute in Scottish football, which is great. But for Livingston, they've you know, a good result against Ross County, but before that they've starting to lose goals in games quite heavily now. You know, that's 3 or 4 times in the last 6 weeks they've been beat 3-0.
1 win in the previous 6 matches, and St Mirren 9 home league wins. They're playing well at home.
Yeah, I've always said, and well, that's just my opinion, that you're not going to go through the whole season, apart from your Rangers and Celtic, and win every game. But the other teams either start poorly, or you're a mental bit in the middle, or you lose form at the end. And if I had the choice, it would be having it in the middle. Yeah. Because if you lose it your way at the end of it, it's going to cost you dearly.
Yeah, quite a lot of people commenting on these things. Of course, Keith O'Flaherty says Hibs will not get top 6. We are ranked rotten. Well, we'll wait to see if something can change, if somebody can just spark. Sometimes it just takes one little game where suddenly the confidence can return. Of course, in that game, 3-0 for St Mirren, and a penalty for the first goal, which took an eternity. Rob, you're not happy about that, are you?
No, again, it's another one. It's your arm in an unnatural position, and if you played football like Tam, not me particularly, because my arms were always out in the unnatural position. yeah. But Tam, ask any footballer when you jump, where are your arms? Ask any defender if you're going to try and get in front of me, where are your arms? They're not at your side, they're not in a natural position.
Try to get above the guy, so you're putting your arm above his arm.
It's just crazy, it is, and I can see why they're frustrated. I can see why the managers that are losing the games are so frustrated.
Well, it's a win that suddenly St Mirren is starting to dream of a top 6 finish, and I think Stephen Robinson is really relishing the battle with his counterpart at Livingston.
Listen, this was always an important game. My point was, it wasn't do or die. We've got 4 games. There's no point winning this game and not getting any points in the next 3. So we know that going to Tynecastle and Ibrox next, it's a tough challenge, but certainly one we're not fazed by. We've got a lot of belief in our squad. And for Livingston and St Mirren to be anywhere near the top 6 at this stage of the season, I think is credit to both clubs and both sets of players.
Well, if anything, I think they're the 2 managers that are embarrassing everybody else in the league, Ali, because of their budgets.
Yeah, when you look at the budgets of teams round about them, teams below them that they've got, I think both deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the teams that they've assembled. I think what you would say is that they've both got more than the sum of their parts out of their team, and I think that's very indicative of good coaching.
Yeah, David Martindale, not happy with the way things are going at the moment with Livingston. Got to try and turn it around.
Going into this game, I was looking at all the permutations. A draw wouldn't have been bad, a win would have been great, and if you lost the game, I think there's still a lot to play for. So there's still games coming up where I think this is now going to go down to the wire. The disappointing aspect for me was I think we've had 1 foot in the top 6 for a while now, and we've never took those opportunities to kind of cement our place in the top 6.
Yeah, Livingston have got St Johnstone, Motherwell and Dundee United, all winnable games.
Yep, not a bad run for Livingston. They're obviously just a point behind Hibs at the minute in 7th place, so It's going to be very, very tight, you know. And once you're in that top six, you're certainly in the mix for top three. So, but you need to get into the top six first, clearly.
Talking of, you know, it's going to be really tight. Have a look at the predictor table. There's been a twist.
Is it done properly this week?
Alan Ruff 267, Tam McManus 263, I'm on 257, and then suddenly Alison McConnell with a fantastic weekend is on 246. Tam Cowan on 227, and at the bottom, the loser, Hugh McDonald on 203. I think he's resigned to it now, Ruffy. We're just going to a nice restaurant. We'll get a nice couple of bottles of red wine.
Yeah, I'm sure, Tom. But Hugh won't mind that. He likes a good night out. He likes a good partner.
Well,
he's got a few quid on off.
Well, absolutely. So we should have.
He must be putting Rangers in for a draw.
I think it's always good if you get somebody who's lost the predictor who's quite wealthy.
Yes.
Tam, wealthy. And of course, Hugh, wealthy. If she wins it and hits the bottom of the table, we're in for the worst night ever.
It's always a mad rush to get sitting beside Hugh because he doesn't drink. That means you get put him out of his bottle.
There.
Lad, true, Jakey.
I was just about to say to you, Tam, there it is.
Only you would think that.
Honestly, I mean, you couldn't even,
Jakey.
I know, you couldn't think that way, could you? Your mind doesn't work that way. That's the way he works. It's as simple as that.
Your hands in an unnatural position when a night out, i.e. never in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. The split's coming fast and furious. We now know it starts on the 6th and the 7th, and then eventually it finishes May 27th, 28th. Those fixtures dates come out, then we'll obviously start to find out, getting ever closer to that split, who's playing who and who's going to get their is it 18 19 home games. You know, you try and give them. They try and give them 19 home games, but that's your argument for 3 weeks away. Anyway, apart from anything else, English Premier League. Here's the results from the weekend, and of course it's the sacking weekend as well. Man City 4-1 winners over Liverpool. Arsenal 4-1 over Leeds United. Bournemouth edged it against Fulham by 2-1. It was a 6-goal thriller between Brighton and Brentford sharing the points. Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson, 75 years of age, back in. 2-1 win over Leicester. That cost Brendan Rodgers his job. Nottingham Forest and Wolves shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Chelsea 0, Aston Villa 2. That cost Graham Potter his job. West Ham United 1, Southampton 0. That possibly saved David Moyes and his job. And Newcastle United 2, Manchester United 0 was revenge for the League Cup final. What a weekend. Suddenly, 4 years after saying goodbye to Celtic, Leicester have now said goodbye to Brendan. Alison.
Yeah, I think it's been a tough couple of months for him at Leicester. I think he'll have seen the writing on the wall before the weekend, I'm sure. But it's getting to that stage of the season where boards start to get very anxious when they see themselves, particularly in a league like that, which can be so lucrative. If you have to go out of it, it's such a difficult league to get back into at times, and I know you have the parachute payment and all the rest of it, but I think boards start to get very, very antsy if there's any indication that you might be toiling for your life down there.
Yeah, and Brendan Rodgers, it was mutual consent, so he didn't take his full 10 million, only took 8.
Yeah.
He's going to be struggling for his next job.
Well, I was just about to say, because somebody said there are some very rich sacked managers this morning. Even if you're a failure in the English Premier League, you can make yourself a multi-millionaire, Ruffy.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the Chelsea payout's been in the last 5 or 6 years.
12 million compensation to get him in September.
Yeah, I mean,
just paid him off a bit.
Conte went away with a few. There must have been, you'd be maybe talking about 100 million. In payoffs with managers over the last wee while, Chelsea.
Yeah.
But they're already talking about the boy Potter going to Leicester.
Yeah, I know. But you know the biggest problem though? The biggest problem is, I think, sometimes when you get to a situation where you see managers getting sacked willy-nilly, you have to look at the structure as well. Chelsea's structure's not great because they've gone from Abramovich, who was a serial sacker. Ted Bowley is now looking, and the fans have lost confidence in Potter. And you know, and there's no real there's no real compassion, connection, understanding of a club. I mean, you look at it. The boy Mudryk was sensational for Shakhtar Donetsk. And, and a lot of people I think Chelsea just go and buy people on huge wages and don't really think about what's the structure of the team.
Hundreds of good players.
I don't think that Potter was ever a great fit in the first place. I don't think it was the right appointment when they made it, and I don't think there was ever a proper connection there. I don't think there was a clear identity about the team, but they're so disparate. You have all these really quality players, but you're not getting the best out of them. You're not gelling them together to get the best result, and that's when you need a proper coach, I think, to come in and work a system that plays to your strengths.
There needs to be some sort of window for managers now. Surely you can't just be sacking people after 3 or 4 months. And the Chelsea owner, for example, he needs to realise that the guy Potter, he's not got a magic wand.
In big business,
You've heard that twice.
Ali, you're having a whiskey, lemonade, two pints of bitter. Yeah, all right, up the back. You got it in just as I thought we were getting out of the show without a rotten joke. I have to say though, when you look at the managers getting sacked, there's no way in the Premier League with big business. You can't give them, you must have a year. Big business means you cannot, I don't know any business that sits with someone who takes a company to the brink of losing £100 million,
Yeah, it's economics, it's just real life in a business, and these are businesses that you're talking about.
And Tony's just said something that was sent to me in a text this morning. They've just bought a 15-year-old for 20 million
I saw that
from
last
Ecuador.
night.
I mean, what's the world coming to? I'll tell you what they should do, by the way. They should actually stop this loan system. You buy your squad, you have a squad, and that is it. You can't buy
10-year contracts
players
to get round the fair play.
10 players to suddenly go out and loan. They're not even putting on a Chelsea top.
Chelsea are it's such a bloated squad when you look at that first team squad and how many loan players. If you look at when you go just a step beyond the academy, if you look at probably age 18 up, it's probably the biggest squad out of anyone else. It's huge.
Yeah.
Really huge.
Here's the sack list. Might as well show you it because this tells you how ruthless it all is. Brendan Rodgers, Graham Potter, Steven Gerrard, remember him? Antonio Conte, Frank Lampard, Scott Parker, Thomas Tuchel, Bruno Lage, Ralph Hasenhüttl, Jesse Marsh, Nathan Jones, Patrick Vieira. So 8 managers have survived since the start of the season. It's incredible what's happening with all of this. Listen, on the programme we promised you that PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, we've got lots of different content for you. There's more and more one-to-ones on the way, there's exclusives, there's competitions, and of course we still have the David Martindale documentary out there for you to savour. A lot of people have been watching it and complimenting us. Thank you very much for all the lovely mentions we've had about that insight into Livingston as a football club and David Martindale. My story, the Livingston manager David Martindale, you can watch it on the YouTube channel. We've got a special coming up with Alex McLeish talking about Gothenburg 40 years on, and of course he's been talking about Rangers as well and how the club really needs to back Michael Beale in the summer.
And I watched some videos and I thought what they were trying to do was walk the ball into the net, the usual brilliant total Dutch football, and get to the byline, cut it back, tap in. I says, no, we've got to play faster, get the ball forward quicker. And I just used one of the things that I've emphasised about Alex Ferguson all my life was assertive tempo passing, and play with tempo, quick throw-ins, everything quick. And it was kind of just pearls of wisdom that I got for Sir Alex on my journey.
Yeah. And that's the job facing Michael Beale. Alex McLeish talking about his time when he came in as manager, changing from Dick Advocaat. He had to reduce the budget, didn't have as much collateral to play with, but certainly wanted them to play a certain way. So you can see that section, Alec talking about Rangers, Michael Beale and the summer ahead for Rangers is out now on our YouTube channel. The Gothenburg heroes of 1983, that is coming out on the 12th of April, a Wednesday. It'll be out there for you to view. And I think a nice touch today, Ruffy, that it's been announced by UEFA that 6 of the Aberdeen backroom team, including the manager, Archie Knox as well, Teddy Scott, Dougie Bell, which is great for Dougie. He missed out in the final through injury. He would almost certainly have been in that squad. They've all got a Cup Winners' Cup medal belatedly, but got one.
Yeah, well, you talk about obviously the 11 on the park, you know, that's the memories you have, but a lot of them would have contributed in that run right through to the final, you know, and I think Dougie Bell in particular played in 2 or 3, so no, well done to them. I think it's good for the club, you know, they're united together, and it'll be good on the night. They'll probably present the medals at the night that you're at.
Yeah, absolutely, looking forward to it. They've got a double whammy, 2 big events in Aberdeen to celebrate, and why not?
You present them, both of them, Peter?
Well, don't worry about it, Tam, I'll try and involve you. I'll phone you from
there. That way you're getting a West Wing in the house?
I'll phone you from the event. It's going to be a great night of nostalgia.
Yeah, and I think it's right that you celebrate it. I do. I think it's a momentous thing. It won't happen again. I think you're right to give people their place. It's an incredible achievement, and I think it's right to celebrate it and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we've got a belter of a competition. Here it is. It's another magnificent competition courtesy of PLZ Soccer. This is your chance to win this fantastic framed and signed print of Brian Laudrup scoring for Rangers in that unforgettable game up at Tannadice. That goal secured Rangers 9 in a row, and for your chance to win, all you have to do is make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question: from which club did Rangers sign Brian Laudrup? If you know the answer, pop it in the comments section below and make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck. That's a good competition. Good luck with that. Signed by Brian Laudrup as well. Also, I can tell you that the answer to our quiz question on how many managers how many teams still have the same manager they started the season with, the answer was 8. Tam, you were closest, 7, very close, but no cigar. Anyway, thanks to Ruffy, who's in fine form today. Just what he was on about, nobody knows, but we know he was in fine form. Thanks to the big man for being here. Tam, as ever, wearing black to reflect his mood at the moment as Hibs slide down the table. And thanks to Ali, who was fairly calm today, not screaming like a Maddie, because not quite as good today as it was at Rugby Park.
I think Ali backed Kilmarnock.
Yeah, she thinks so.
I actually let £1,000 come on, she was absolutely buzzing at the end.
Absolutely. Thanks to Alison, from myself, Peter Martin, and to you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.